You think being nice makes you powerful. No, it makes you predictable. The hard truth is, people don't respect what's easily available. Not in relationships, not in business, not in life. Every time you say yes to what drains you, you're silently saying no to your own peace, your time, your self-worth. You become the one who's always there, always giving, always available, and slowly, your presence loses weight. Because what's always accessible is rarely appreciated. And here's what most people don't realize. This world doesn't reward kindness without boundaries. It tests it, exploits it, then blames you for allowing it. But this isn't about becoming cold or distant. It's about becoming clear, clear on your values, clear on your limits, and clear on who truly deserves your time and energy. Because the Stoics understood one thing very well: the more easily you're swayed by the approval of others, the more power you give away without knowing it. They knew that silence, when rooted in strength, speaks louder than 1,000 apologies. So in this video, we're going to explore the unseen price of being too friendly and why people lose respect for those who are always available. We'll uncover how Stoic wisdom teaches you to protect your peace, command, respect, and still lead with calm authority without letting the world walk all over you. If you've ever felt taken for granted, overlooked, or quietly disrespected, this message is your turning point. Let's begin. Have you ever asked yourself, why is it that the more kind and available you are to people, the less they seem to value you? Why do the ones you help the most start treating you like you're optional? It's not because you did something wrong. It's because, without realizing it, you stepped into an invisible trap. The trap of being too friendly. When kindness becomes a liability, you check in regularly. They think you're too free. You always say yes. They think you have no boundaries. You show up every time they need something. They start to believe you owe them. Eventually, you're no longer seen as a priority but as a backup. People don't treasure what they believe will always be there. Stoicism, kindness without boundaries lowers your worth. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." If your ambition is only to be liked, you'll constantly put others above yourself, and they will notice. Stoic thinkers don't reject kindness, but they understand this. Kindness without limits becomes a slow form of self-betrayal. The harsh truth: people don't measure kindness by quality, but by frequency. Imagine giving someone a beautiful gift every weekend. Week 1, they're touched. Week 2, they smile. Week 3, they say thanks out of habit. By week 4, if you don't bring anything, they're disappointed. When you're always nice, people stop seeing it as nice. They see it as something you owe them. Modern reality: being overly friendly often looks like lack of standards. You can be helpful, but don't be a doormat. You can be generous, but don't be easily used. You can be warm, but have standards for who deserves it. At work, the agreeable one often gets overlooked. In dating, the one who's always texting first gets ghosted. In friendship, the most available person becomes the one they assume has no life. Stoic reminder: when you combine silence with strong personal boundaries, what you earn is respect, not just attention. Epictetus said it best: don't explain your philosophy, embody it. You don't need to explain why you're more distant. You don't need to justify why you don't always reply instantly. Instead, just be silent. Set clear boundaries. Let your actions speak, not your words. Respect isn't earned by being nice to everyone. It's earned by knowing when to say yes and when to walk away. The truth nobody wants to hear. Being too available doesn't win love. It slowly chips away at your value in people's eyes. Kindness is a choice. But if it's expected from you all the time, it stops being kindness. It becomes your duty in their mind. And here's the quiet, stoic truth. You don't need to be constantly accessible to be respected. You need to be clear, calm, and disciplined with your presence, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to remove yourself long enough for others to realize your worth. Let's get one thing straight. Your time, energy, and attention are currencies. The more freely you give them, the less valuable they appear. That's just human psychology. It's not about being arrogant or cold. It's about understanding how self-worth operates in the social economy. People rarely treasure what they can get anytime. From anyone. Think about it. The water you drink every day might keep you alive, but you rarely pause to admire it. Meanwhile, a rare bottle of wine or an exclusive opportunity gets all the attention, all the reverence. Why? Scarcity, mystery, boundaries. Being overly available sends the wrong signal, not just to others, but to yourself. It silently communicates, I need to be liked. I need to be chosen. I need approval. And that energy, people feel it. And unfortunately, many will exploit it. The Stoics had a word for this kind of silent self-betrayal: proskynesis, the act of bowing too low, too often, and for the wrong reasons. Marcus Aurelius warned, the approval of the crowd is a weak foundation to build your dignity upon. Let that sink in. Now think about your own life. Have you ever bent over backwards for someone who didn't appreciate it? Have you offered help, time, or forgiveness to people who responded with entitlement instead of gratitude? That wasn't kindness. They saw it as weakness. And when they see you as weak, they stop listening. They stop respecting. They start using. Here's a hard truth: when you're always available, you're rarely valued. But let's get even deeper. Why do so many of us overgive in the first place? Because we confuse kindness with overcompensation. We think if we're always there, always helping, always nice, we'll be loved more, seen more, needed more. But this is a low-level form of emotional negotiation. We trade our boundaries for temporary validation, and the cost, your personal power. In high-performance environments, whether business, leadership, or even dating, the most respected individuals are those who know their worth and protect it. They're not rude, but they're not always accessible either. Their time has gravity. Their presence has value. Why? Because they've cultivated executive energy, calm, selective, intentional. That's not manipulation. That's emotional intelligence. So how do you shift from being overly available to powerfully selective? You start by asking one question: if I wasn't afraid to lose this person, opportunity, or approval, what would I stop doing immediately? And then you do exactly that. You pull back, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in clarity. You stop explaining yourself to people who've already decided not to understand you. You stop showing up in rooms where your presence is assumed, not appreciated. You stop giving the best of you to those who've only earned the bare minimum. This is not about ego, it's about alignment. When you know your value, you no longer beg others to see it. Your silence becomes a mirror, your absence becomes a boundary, and your respect for yourself becomes the most powerful message of all. Because here's the ultimate Stoic law: what is rare is valued, what is disciplined is respected, and when your presence is rooted in restraint, not desperation, you don't just get attention, you get authority. Here's something most people never stop to consider. Your energy is finite. Your focus is limited. Your emotional bandwidth is not renewable on demand. You are not a power plant. You are a human being. And if you keep leaking your energy into the wrong people, you will never have enough left for the right purpose. Stoic philosophy reminds us again and again, guard your inner citadel. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say, or think, or do. Only what you do." Translation: your peace is your power, and who you allow access to that power is everything. So why do we keep allowing energy thieves into our lives? Because we mistake familiarity for alignment. We assume just because someone's been around for years, they deserve access to us forever. But in reality, some people are just patterns in your nervous system, not partners in your future. They don't pour into you. They pull from you. They don't grow with you. They resent your growth. They drain you with complaints, shouts, crisis, and constant drama. And the most dangerous part, you begin to normalize it. You begin to confuse their noise for connection. And suddenly you're tired, but not from doing your life's work. You're exhausted because you're doing emotional labor for people who refuse to carry their own growth. This is where the high-value mindset kicks in. If your energy were money, would you hand it out freely to people who never repay you emotionally, mentally, or spiritually? Would you keep investing in relationships that yield zero returns? No. Then why do it with your time, your attention, your soul? Here's a rule: if they don't respect your time, they won't respect your growth. If they don't respect your silence, they won't respect your wisdom. The Stoics never believed in being cruel, but they believed in being selective. They knew that emotional chaos was contagious. Seneca said it best: associate with those who will make you better. That means stop explaining your standards to people committed to misunderstanding them. Stop watering relationships that only sprout weeds. Stop bleeding energy into people who are addicted to playing small. You don't need to hate them. You don't need to cut them off dramatically. You simply need to elevate your frequency beyond their reach. And when you do that, a strange thing happens. You start waking up with more clarity. Your creativity returns. Your conversations become richer. Your confidence quietly rebuilds. You stop second-guessing your worth just to maintain peace, because you finally realize protecting your energy is not selfish. It's strategic. People respect what is earned, what is sacred, what is filtered. When you start acting like your presence is expensive, the world responds with higher offers. And if anyone tries to guilt-trip you for protecting your peace, remember, those who get offended by your boundaries were benefiting from your lack of them. So reclaim your energy. Reclaim your space. Reclaim your focus. Because the most powerful version of you isn't tired, isn't drained, isn't surrounded by takers. The most powerful version of you is selective, silent, and sharp, and knows exactly where the real war is being fought in your energy. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people won't tell you being liked is easy. Smile. Say yes. Be available. Avoid conflict. Blend in. Play small. Laugh at jokes that aren't funny. And slowly, painfully, de-inside. Because the cost of being liked is often your authenticity, and Stoicism never asked you to be liked, it asked you to be virtuous, disciplined, and clear. You weren't born to be agreeable, you were born to live with purpose. Marcus Aurelius didn't spend his days chasing compliments or curating approval. He wrote to himself, privately, honestly, the approval of others, worthless. If it's not virtuous, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. In today's world, this is what we call executive presence, a quiet confidence that commands respect without begging for it. It doesn't require noise. It doesn't require validation. It's the power of knowing who you are, and more importantly, who you're not. Let's break this down. The people-pleasing trap is a psychological prison. You start negotiating your self-worth for temporary acceptance. You say yes to things that make your stomach turn. You tolerate disrespect to avoid being too much. And the more you compromise your truth, the more invisible you become to others and to yourself. This is where Stoicism draws a hard line. Do what is right, not what is easy. Speak with intention, not for applause. Show up with strength, not desperation. Because when you stop needing to be liked, your energy shifts. You walk differently. You speak differently. You set boundaries without guilt. You no longer ask, do they approve of me, you ask. Do I approve of this version of myself? That's emotional intelligence. That's personal sovereignty. And that's when the world starts to take you seriously. Here's what they won't tell you. The most respected people in the room aren't the loudest. The most powerful leaders aren't chasing likes, they're protecting standards. The most balanced individuals don't fear solitude, they cultivate it. So if someone says you've changed because you've become more private, more direct, more intentional good, that's growth, that's clarity, that's alignment. And when you stop explaining yourself to people who benefit from your silence, you'll realize respect doesn't come from over-explaining, it comes from over-delivering. Let your results speak. Let your silence clarify. Let your presence anchor the room. You're not here to entertain the masses. You're here to live your values. And not everyone will like that, but the right ones will respect the hell out of it. So ask yourself today, would I rather be liked for who I'm not, or respected for who I truly am? The Stoics already answered. Now, it's your turn. Let's get brutally honest. In life, you train people how to treat you. Every time you're always available, every time you answer the phone at midnight, Every time you say yes when your gut screams no, you're silently sending a message: my time doesn't matter. My energy is free. My standards are flexible. And what happens when something feels too easy to access? People stop valuing it. Think about it. Why do diamonds have value? Not because they're pretty, because they're rare. Why do CEOs and high-level performers command respect? Because they're not easy to reach. Their time is guarded. Their focus is intentional. This isn't arrogance. It's self-respect turned into personal policy. Stoicism teaches us that what is rare is precious. That includes your presence, your attention, and your peace. Withdraw into yourself. It is in solitude that the mind becomes strongest. Marcus Aurelius. In a society addicted to validation, availability is the new currency, but just like fiat money, it loses value when printed without limit. Your constant availability is making you forgettable. Worse, it's making you replaceable. If you want people to truly value, you stop trying to be everywhere for everyone. Start becoming selective with your time, your space, and your soul. This is the scarcity mindset in a Stoic sense, not one of fear, but of intentionality. When you say, "I'm not free today, let's reschedule." I don't engage in gossip or negativity. That's not aligned with my priorities right now. You're not pushing people away. You're pulling your value up. You're building what modern psychologists now call your personal brand. And in today's world, your personal boundaries are your brand. You can be kind without being a doormat. You can be generous without being exploited. You can be present without being on call. Because here's the reality. People remember what feels exclusive. They respect what feels earned, and they chase what's not always guaranteed. This applies in leadership, relationships, business, everywhere. You want your energy to feel like a limited edition, not a clearance sale. You want to be someone whose presence feels like a gift, not a routine. Let's make it clear. Being too nice is not a virtue. Being too available is not humility. Being too accommodating is not strength. It's often a strategy of fear, fear of abandonment, fear of judgment, fear of rejection. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. A man should be upright, not kept upright. Marcus Aurelius. Your worth is inherent, not borrowed. Your peace is sacred, not negotiable. So starting today, set new terms. You don't have to answer every message instantly. You don't have to explain your every move. You don't have to say yes to what depletes you. Let people miss you. Let people wonder what you're working on. Let your absence create gravity, because when you become rare, you become respected. And when you're respected, you no longer need to beg for attention. Your silence becomes magnetic. So ask yourself, are you accessible out of kindness or out of fear? Are you constantly available or selectively powerful? Choose wisely, because your energy is not unlimited. And the more you give it away, the more you lose the chance to truly build your value. Let's make one thing clear. Silence is not retreat. It's not fear. It's not passivity. It's control. It's strategy. It's mastery of emotion in a world that's addicted to noise. In today's culture, We've been conditioned to believe that speaking louder equals strength. Social media rewards instant opinions. Debate culture rewards quick reactions. And in relationships, people equate silence with defeat. But Stoicism flips the script. Don't waste time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius A. Stoic doesn't yell to prove they're right. They act in alignment with truth and let results speak for them. That's high-performance emotional intelligence in motion. When someone disrespects you, your silence can say, "I saw that. I noted it. But you're not worth my peace." When someone gossips, your silence says, "I'm not here to lower my standards to your level." When conflict erupts and people demand a reaction, your calmness whispers, "I am not here to entertain your chaos. I'm here to protect my energy." This isn't weakness, it's mental discipline. The same way elite athletes conserve energy, Stoics conserve their words. And here's why it's powerful. Silence creates asymmetry. While others expose themselves emotionally, you remain grounded. While they guess what you're thinking, you observe what they reveal. While they scramble to dominate the room, your stillness commands it. This is what modern psychology calls tactical silence used in negotiations, diplomacy, leadership. But the Stoics mastered it centuries ago. They understood that when you react impulsively, you give away power. When you respond calmly, you control outcomes. But when you stay silent, you gain leverage. Silence is not the absence of power, it's the concentration of it. It creates psychological weight. It unsettles manipulators. It earns the attention of people who've been drowning in noise. In fact, the more emotional the situation, the more powerful your silence becomes. In an argument, go silent. Let them show who they truly are. In a room full of ego, stay still. You'll become the gravitational center. Being provoked. Don't react. The storm always passes. And so does the fool shouting in it. And here's the secret. People may mock your silence in public, but they fear it in private. Because silence can't be manipulated. It can't be predicted. It can't be controlled. And that's terrifying to the insecure. Silence is what builds executive presence. It's what makes leaders magnetic. It's what gives your words gravity, because when you finally speak, people listen. So the next time you're tempted to over-explain yourself, to defend every decision, to fight every battle, pause, breathe, return to your center. And remember this, Stoic tool, silence plus boundaries equal respect. Because true power isn't proven through volume. It's revealed through restraint. It's not about saying more. It's about needing to say less and still being heard. Let's be real. In a perfect world, being kind, generous, and always available would make people admire and appreciate you. But we don't live in that world. We live in one ruled by psychology, perception, and power dynamics. And here's the brutal truth. No one wants to say out loud. People don't value what's too easy to get. And they don't respect what's always available. The moment you're too nice, too accessible, too forgiving, you lose leverage. Not because you did something wrong, but because you gave too much without making them earn it. It's called value saturation. When something is abundant, its perceived value drops, not because it has changed, but because people have stopped noticing. That's why diamonds are kept in glass. Luxury brands limit supply. Top performers set boundaries. Because in human nature, scarcity builds respect, while overexposure breeds indifference. You think you're being a good friend. You think you're showing loyalty. You think you're building connection. But what they see is they'll always say yes. I can show up late. They'll still wait. They'll forgive me no matter what I do. And over time, they stop thanking you. They stop valuing your presence. They stop feeling the need to respect you. This is why so many people feel invisible, unappreciated, or emotionally drained, even though they've been nothing but kind. Because kindness without boundaries becomes a trap, a silent contract where you teach people to take you for granted. And here's where Stoicism steps in. The Stoics didn't teach us to be rude or cold. They taught us to be disciplined with our energy, to choose when and how to engage. Instead of throwing ourselves into every connection with blind generosity, Marcus Aurelius put it this way: do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others. It is not in our power to prevent others from misjudging us, but it is in our power to avoid being distracted by it. Let that sink in. Your mission is not to please everyone. It's not to be liked by all. It's to live in integrity with your values. Protect your peace and command respect through quiet strength. So what does that look like in practice? You don't always respond instantly to texts or calls. Your time is valuable. You say no when something drains you, even if it disappoints others. You stop chasing validation and start moving in purpose. You observe more, speak less, and let your absence teach the lesson your presence could never deliver. And if people walk away because you're no longer easy, let them. You didn't lose them. They lost access to someone solid, kind, and rare. And that's not your loss. That's their karma. So here's a mental shift to lock in. Being too friendly is not a virtue. It's often a form of self-abandonment, masked as kindness. You want real connection. Give your presence selectively. Offer your energy intentionally. And above all, respect yourself first, so others learn how to follow. Because the people who truly value you, they won't be repelled by your boundaries. They'll be attracted to your strength. There is a silent killer of purpose, peace, and power in today's world. And it's not failure. It's attachment to how others see you. We live in an age where your worth is often measured by external noise. How many likes your thoughts get. How fast someone replies to your message. Whether your choices are validated by the crowd. But here's the Stoic truth. Caring too much about what others think is slavery of the mind. You might look free. You might even feel accomplished. But as long as your mood, decisions, and identity depend on external approval, you're not living, you're performing. And performances are exhausting. They drain your energy. They steal your focus. They keep you small. Marcus Aurelius warned us centuries ago. It never ceases to amaze me we all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. How twisted is that? You are the one living your life. You are the one who knows your past, your purpose, your pain. Yet somehow, a stranger's opinion can control your self-worth. It's time to break that chain. Here's what emotional detachment actually means. It's not about being cold. It's not about isolating yourself. It's about reclaiming control over your internal state and no longer handing it over to the unpredictable winds of public opinion. Because when your peace is negotiable, your freedom is gone. The Stoics mastered this by building their lives on virtue, not validation, on self-respect, not applause, on alignment, not attention. They understood this principle. If you live for their praise, you'll die from their criticism. So let me ask you, would you rather please the world and betray yourself, or disappoint the world and finally honor your own path? Because the harsh truth is, you can be the most sincere, disciplined, and generous version of yourself, and someone will still dislike you, misjudge you, or try to diminish you. That's not your burden. That's their lens. And detachment is how you set yourself free from it. Start practicing these shifts today. Say what's true. Even if it's not popular, set a boundary. Even if it makes someone uncomfortable, make choices that nourish your soul. Even if others don't understand. Because here's the paradox. The less you need to be liked, the more you become respected. The more you detach from validation, the more powerful your presence becomes. When you stop chasing acceptance, you become magnetic, not to everyone, but to the right people, the kind who value authenticity over performance, truth over image, strength over approval. And that's the kind of energy that builds an unshakable life. So let them talk. Let them gossip. Let them misunderstand you. Because when your peace no longer depends on being understood, that's when you've reached true Stoic freedom. In a world that constantly demands your attention, presence, and performance, there is something almost rebellious and deeply powerful about disappearing. Let's be clear. This isn't about ghosting. It's not about running away from conflict or abandoning your responsibilities. It's about something much more intentional, using your absence as a tool of clarity, discipline, and personal power. Because sometimes, the most powerful move isn't showing up louder, it's withdrawing in silence. Why? Because your absence creates contrast. And contrast forces people to think, reflect, question. It forces the room to feel what they took for granted. It breaks patterns and disrupts expectations quietly. The Stoics understood this. They didn't beg for attention. They didn't argue to prove their worth. They removed themselves from noise to preserve their inner order. Epictetus said it best: if someone does not value you, do not be angry. Simply withdraw. Your withdrawal is your boundary. It says, I don't compete for attention. I won't fight to be seen. If my value isn't obvious, I won't explain it. That's power, not the kind that roars, the kind that echoes. Let me tell you something real. Sometimes, your consistent presence makes you invisible. You show up too often. You give too much. You respond too quickly. And in doing so, people stop feeling your weight. Not because you're not valuable, but because you've made your energy too accessible. And what's too accessible becomes ordinary. And what becomes ordinary gets ignored. Here's the truth most won't say aloud. Your absence restores your value. People remember silence longer than they remember noise. They question distance more than they appreciate proximity, and when done strategically, your disappearance is a mirror reflecting back to them what they once overlooked. So what does this look like in practice? 1. Step back from toxic dynamics. If someone constantly disrespects or diminishes you, don't argue. Disengage. Withdraw your time, your energy, your access. Let your silence be their consequence. 2. Disappear to rediscover. Sometimes we lose ourselves by being too available to the world. Log off. Turn inward. Reconnect with your why, because clarity comes when the noise stops. 3. Use space to elevate. Your absence gives you time to study, train, evolve. When you reappear, you're stronger, sharper, clearer. Now they don't just hear your name, they feel your presence. This principle applies in every area. In friendships, those who never reached out may suddenly wonder where you went. In business, when you stop offering discounts of your time, people suddenly remember your value. In relationships, absence shows who notices and who never really cared. Your absence is a filter. It reveals who respects your time. It exposes who only loved your access, not your essence. And it reminds you, you were never invisible, just surrounded by the blind. Marcus Aurelius taught waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. And sometimes, being one means knowing when to walk away without a word. Not out of bitterness, not to punish, but because your growth no longer fits their version of you. In the end, remember this: presence without boundaries creates burnout. Absence with intention creates legacy. So disappear when needed. Not to hurt, but to heal. Not to prove, but to protect. Not to teach them a lesson, but to master your own. Because when your energy returns, it will speak volumes. And those who once ignored your value will feel the silence you left behind and realize too late it was never just your words they needed. It was your presence they didn't deserve. In today's chaotic world, everyone is yelling their opinions, yelling their accomplishments, yelling their pain, their problems, their projections. And what does the average person do? They either join the noise or get consumed by it. But not you. You're not here to echo the noise. You're here to transcend it. The Stoics never sought to be the loudest in the room. They aimed to be the most grounded. And that's the real flex in this life: to remain calm in chaos, to be clear when others are confused, to be composed when others collapse. Because once you master your emotions, you become untouchable. Let that sink in. No one can manipulate you when you're not reactive. No one can control you when you don't chase approval. No one can drain you when you set sacred boundaries. No one can shake you when your identity doesn't rely on noise. This is the birth of an inner executive mindset, where you run your mind like a high-performance boardroom. You don't entertain every voice. You don't validate every emotion. You don't react to every provocation. Instead, you pose. You observe. You respond with power. Let's get one thing clear. Silence isn't weakness. It's a weapon. Used intentionally, it becomes a shield protecting your peace, a mirror exposing others' character, a test revealing who's truly aligned with your values, a strategy allowing you to operate in stealth while building something unshakable. When you stop giving the world emotional access to you, you evolve. Because emotional access is power, and when you give it away too easily, you become a puppet to external chaos. So how do you become untouchable? Let's anchor this down. 1. Train your mind. Daily mental strength isn't built on motivation, it's forged in discipline. Practice stillness. Read philosophy. Journal your triggers. Question your assumptions. Your mind must be trained like a soldier before it's tested like a king. 2. Protect your energy like royalty. Not everyone deserves your story. Not everyone deserves your presence. If it drains you, disrespects you, or distracts you, it's too expensive. 3. Operate in silence. Let results speak, talk less. Post less. Prove less. Every ounce of energy spent proving is energy not spent building. 4. Turn pain into power. Every betrayal, loss, and silence you've endured, don't resent it. Alchemize it. Turn rejection into redirection. Turn heartbreak into higher purpose. Turn darkness into depth. Because every storm that tried to destroy you only made you harder to shake. 5. Lead yourself first. Forget followers. Forget applause. Forget validation. If you can lead yourself with clarity, resilience, and poise, you're already ahead of 99% of the world. Because most people can't even control their reactions. You're mastering your response. That's leadership. That's emotional intelligence. That's freedom. So, here's the final Stoic reminder. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. Epictetus. In a world obsessed with being seen, be someone who sees clearly. In a culture addicted to noise, be the one who carries depth. And when people ask why you're different, why you move like you do, why you're always so composed, just smile. Because the truth is, you stopped reacting and started rising. Not loudly, not desperately, but purposefully. And that's the kind of silence that conquers empires. So, if today you find yourself walking alone, feeling misunderstood, feeling unseen, feeling like no one gets what you're building, remember this: eagles fly alone, lions hunt alone, legends are always forged in solitude. Because solitude is not a punishment, it's preparation. Preparation for a level of life where distractions can't follow, where mediocrity can't survive, where fake friends can't reach, where the weak version of you can no longer exist. So, walk alone, rise alone, win alone. Not because you're antisocial, but because you're becoming someone unrecognizable. And when the world finally notices, you won't need validation. You'll already be at peace, unshakable, unbothered, unstoppable. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Marcus Aurelius. Now, if this message spoke to your soul, not just your ears, do one thing for yourself. Like this video to affirm your path. Comment, "I walk alone, and I rise stronger." to anchor this mindset. Subscribe to join a growing legion of deep thinkers and modern-day Stoics. Your next step on this journey to unshakable clarity. Because this is not just a channel, it's a movement. And it begins with you. Stay grounded. Stay silent. Stay powerful. You are Think Stoic 101.